It would just be really great if they just like channeled all these subscriptions into like different channels so I could watch stuff. And then instead of paying all these individual prices, they just made one so I could watch it in one place and also pay for no ads.
Dude, that's a genius idea. You should like try to get that idea out there and see if somebody will pick it up. You should see if one like really big company would like pick up that idea and like
put it all together. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlin. I am your host tonight, and I have one other Infinity Bro with me. It is the tin foil hat distributor and carrot distributor of the Infinity Bros universe, Mark Jones.
I'm here again in my New World Order shirt.
New World Order. What would have been if the Captain America 4 would have kept the New World Order? Like, there would have been so many great memes that would be coming out.
It would have been great. It would have been great. And Disney just is too scared to float.
Too scared, yeah, right. They just couldn't do it. It's just a shame.
I'm gonna take credit for this. I was the first one to put out a meme with Hulk Hogan and that Captain like New World Order stuff. I was one of the first to put it on the Twitter.
Yep.
And then Disney did me wrong. All of a sudden, Iger gets back in. He's like, no, that's a real thing happened. We can't bring it to light.
They specifically saw your meme, and they were like, "Ooh, you know what?"
Because that's literally what's going to happen in that movie. The whole premise is like, hey, there's a new world, like a government order, going to come over and take control of everybody. It's going to be one world government, but now they're going to call it Brave New World, and 6 it sounds nicer,
less offensive to everybody. So
what's wild, they probably put like, oh, we didn't want to have brand confusion. Brand with a thing from like 25 years ago. That's,
if nothing else, I feel like it would have maybe improved awareness. Like, oh, New World Order. I remember that. Let's check this out.
And you could have done great puns with what is it, the Serpent Society or whatever they're called, because a lot of them are wrestlers apparently that they cast.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Some good wrestling puns and made people laugh, cry, even maybe.
Missed opportunities, Marvel. Missed opportunities. Anyways, listeners, for those of you guys who have not listened to the Infinity Bros podcast before, we're a group of 6 guys who talk nerdy stuff, film, TV, video games, anything that's going on in pop culture. We review it. Today we're going to be talking some nerd news and going over season 2 of House of the Dragon, the HBO, Max show, I suppose now streaming exclusively on Max. It just got done with its finale probably about was it a month ago now? Nah. Was it a month ago? Wow. Time flies, dude. This has been a busy summer. There's so much content that's come out this summer. Like, I literally, as we're preparing this episode, I'm like, Mark, here's like 7 things that we can talk about.
Here's one thing you can watch in 3 hours if you binged right now.
Yeah. Batman Cape Crusader, you could burn through those. I actually only made it through like 4 or 5 episodes, so it's okay that we're not.
In all honesty, I probably could have burned through the whole season today.
Probably.
When I asked you late what we were going to talk about, and you said this, I'm like, I just like literally spent 2.5 hours of my day playing NCAA football and watching old wrestling. Where it's like I could have had Cape Crusader on while I watched, and I would have been.
Dude, I think about that every day too, because like some days all the kids will go to bed. Holly's like, I'm gonna read, and then I'm gonna go to bed, and I'm like, there's so much stuff that I could get done content-wise, and then I just go down and either what you said, play NCAA, or I play an old video game that I haven't played forever, and I'm like, I spend the rest of my night doing that, and I'm like, was this a good use of my time? Probably not, but I did have fun, so I guess in a sense it was de-stressing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always think that too, though. If I'm rewatching a show or something, I'm like, man, there's so many other things that I could be watching for the first time instead of rewatching The Office for the 5th time or, something like that.
Yeah, but there's some truth behind that. Like, you're going to get from The Office. You basically could listen to it like a podcast at this point.
That's true.
Versus like you have to make a commitment to a new thing, so you kind of want to pay attention so you don't lose out on what's happening. It's so stressful and just stupid. And now if you're watching on Amazon, they have commercials now, which was just off-putting.
I know, dude. That is a bummer. Everything's getting ads now. It's ridiculous.
It was coming. It was coming because streaming networks don't make money.
Yeah, it's definitely a bummer. But listeners, make sure you check out theinfinitybros.com for all of your Infinity Bros needs. You can find Robbie streaming on Drip, selling some Magic the Gathering cards. You can find us on the podcast, and I don't know, soon to be hopefully streaming, because my kids are going back to school in a couple days here, and I can't wait for that to happen. That makes me sound like a bad parent, but I promise you, it's just because they have been at each other's throats for the past 2 weeks. So they need to go to school. I'm excited to get back into doing a little bit more content. Maybe we'll bring back Thrifty Thursdays on Twitch. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But a lot of cool things to look forward to. The one thing I do want to bring up is our special rating system.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
So if you hear us rate something a number, that is how we rate it. We're going to be talking nerd news, might do some rating on that. And then obviously we'll be rating our thoughts on season 2 of House of the Dragon at the end of the show. So, Mark, are you ready to get into some nerd news?
Oil me up and throw me in the pit. Let's go.
Hey, Zane, I was looking into getting into this Gunpla thing. There's one called the Unicorn Banshee. What the heck is that all about? Actually, Jarrett, what you're thinking of is RX-0 Unicorn Gundam 2 Banshee, which is from the Mobile Suit Gundam. Actually, you know what? It's time for nerd news.
You always have the best transitions. I love it, Mark. All right. This is Mark-specific nerd news, too. So, some of you may know that Mark is a big Gambit fan. We had a couple things that Ryan Reynolds has been posting from post-credit stuff, behind-the-scenes stuff from Deadpool and Wolverine, and he posted a 20-second clip of Channing Tatum's Gambit that apparently was showing on a TVA screen in the post-credit actual scene in the movie of Gambit getting up after the fight, and the TV or the camera zooms in on him. It sees a ring, a Marvel sparkly ring, as Ryan Reynolds called it, in his eyes. So some potential for Gambit, Channing Tatum's Gambit, to come back to the MCU at some point.
Are we to assume that Sling Ring was a portal to Deadpool's universe or a different one? Or is that what we can do? We can just speculate where he's going.
You could speculate where he's going. I think this clip honestly just means that he can be back in some capacity. I don't think it matters where he's going or in what capacity. Mm-hmm. It just leaves the future open for him, which in and of itself is fantastic news.
Right.
You're the big Gambit guy. So what did you think when you saw this clip?
I'm all for Gambit, comic book accurate Gambit. Gambit in the Wolverine movie was dog trash, just like a lot of characters in that movie were.
Yeah.
I'd say out of all the non-main characters in that, the only one that actually did its service was the Blob. That was the only one from that movie where I was like, yeah, okay, that's kind of exactly who the Blob would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted the Channing Tatum Gambit movie back in 2013, 2014 when that was first, talked about, and then it kind of had its ups and downs and pretty much got killed when they're like, oh yeah, the X movies just suck. We're going to sell everything. Bye-bye. Just like almost Deadpool got killed with that too. So
yeah, true.
So I'm all for it. And, Ryan Reynolds clearly has some pull now at Disney where he says like, hey, I make you guys a truckload of money. You're going to do whatever. If I ask you something, we're going to do it. So
the PR marketing campaign for Deadpool and Wolverine prior to its release was phenomenal. Like, that was one of the best movie marketing campaigns I'd seen in a long time. And Kevin Feige coming out and saying the F-bomb in promo for it as well was just that's just genius, man. It was perfect. I can't believe they got Kevin Feige to sign on to that, number one. But
it's probably was his idea.
You think so?
Probably. He's the puppet master.
Yeah.
And maybe there was like, because I just can't imagine that comes like Ryan Reynolds like suggesting that, which if anything, like it over like a marketing team doing it, I would see the Ryan Reynolds one being more realistic to happen. But I think he knows. He's like, this is the bit. I got to go with the bit.
I definitely think he had contingencies in the back of his mind, and when Ryan Reynolds was like, dude, I want to do this, he was like, okay, let's like work on this and do it and stuff like that. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is the reason why Deadpool is a thing right now, basically. But I don't think this would have happened without Kevin Feige basically supporting it and making it happen in the MCU.
And I think it came out at just, again, just timing wise, it came out at the right time where they were down, and this built the momentum. But yeah, because the other thing that needs to be realized too in those TVA screens is Thor holding Deadpool crying.
Oh my gosh!
I want a Gambit stuff. I want Gambit to I want Channing Tatum's Gambit to reappear, but I need that explained. The Thor Deadpool scene. I just need some context.
Why is Thor crying? That's the real question.
And why is Deadpool dying?
Yeah, apparently to save the universe, but we'll never know until.
Can you imagine if that's how they end it? It's that like we literally got the ending scene of the whole Marvel
in Secret Wars. Oh my gosh, that would be so funny. Even if they bring it back at all, it would be hilarious. But if that was like the thing that saved the universe for real,
I just imagine that like this is how the scene probably works. Like it could be like him and Deadpool finally meet up, and like Thor doesn't fully actualize and know all his powers, but like they grow a bond. So then there comes a scene where he's like pretty much just a puddle of guts, and he's just crying over his dead body. And Deadpool is like plays into it, but then like regenerates. It's like, nah, dude, I'm fine.
Yeah, for real. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So yeah, some interesting prospects coming from that film. Channing Tatum potentially back, maybe not in the MCU, but in his own capacity as Gambit, because technically Logan and Deadpool are not in the MCU.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
And we don't know what universe Channing Tatum's Gambit's from. And this Logan that we know is not from that universe, but we're supposed to believe or know that this Deadpool is in the same universe as the Logan universe, right? And that Logan universe, it includes episodes 1 and 2.
That got a little iffy to me too, like timing wise, but like that's what they made it seem like, was that was like part of the Logan universe. But like that was where I got confused, because wasn't Logan initially supposed to be like a different, like an alternate universe when they created Logan? It was like a different universe from all the other X-Men movies that they created.
I thought it was supposed to be like it wasn't supposed to be all of them, because I feel like at the time, and maybe I'm wrong, people can correct me if I'm wrong, where they kind of turned it into like a, like what Terminator and Halloween franchise has done with their timeline of events, and some things aren't even part of it anymore, where I thought it was 1 and 2 and Days of Future Past. That was the timeline of it all.
The official ones.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
3, they're just like, this movie's so bad, we're just not going to put it in the official timeline.
Yeah. And then like, the X-Men Origins would be in that too, but yeah.
Yeah, true.
But that's how I understood it, is that Logan. So anyway, so it's that universe that Logan happens in. So
ultimately, it really doesn't matter, because when Secret Wars rolls around, they're just going to be pulling everybody from every multiverse. So it doesn't matter what multiverse they're in or a part of or whatever. So Channing Tatum could come back in Secret Wars. Who knows? I mean, you mentioned too that he had like a solo movie that was like, I think it was in pre-production.
It was in pre-production.
When it got shut down. Yeah,
it just like never got off the ground.
Right. Yeah, so it was like a real thing that it was happening and stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe we'll get a Gambit movie someday again. Who knows?
I don't know about that. I don't know if we need a whole Gambit movie at this point.
But what if you made it like one of those, like, not necessarily a Disney Plus drop, but like one of those special presentation things?
I would love that. I would take that over like a theatrical movie.
Right. Or even a theatrical movie, but make it like a Marvel Spotlight thing, like Echo. Like it's not really related to the rest of the MCU. It's just its own thing, type of thing.
right? Because that's the whole spotlight thing where it's like it's not
Well,
like
yeah,
tied
right.
going on, but we're gonna tell.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think we need that because at this point, if he's not even in his universe, what is he doing besides
I don't
teaming
know.
up?
Maybe that's what we would find out. Who knows? You could still tell a good story without it relating to the MCU, though. I mean, like, that's just basic filmmaking, isn't
We're
it?
gonna
Like,
go
if you
back
have a
to
good story, it doesn't matter if they're, in connecting
I'm gonna
tissue with
bring
the
up
rest of the MCU.
what we talked about in the pre-show, which is available on Patreon, and you can subscribe there.
Links in the show notes.
Is that's a commitment. Like, why? Like, if it's just like a new show. Like, I don't know if I want to start a new show if I'm not going to commit to it just because the character exists there. Is it a good use of my time if I'm a viewer of this stuff? Which I mean, I'd watch it no matter what. But I go back to Echo. To me, it's just like Echo alone, if it wasn't tied to the MCU, is okay. But like, I don't think I would have been drawn to that if it wasn't related to the MCU.
That's
So it's like,
true.
to me, I want everything connected and like actually be meaningful. Where this is like such a like down the ladder story,
Right.
But
Well, and that's what, like you said, the appeal to Echo is that it's a good, an okay story for one, and the fact that it's just in the MCU, at least you can still believe, like, oh yeah, like
okay,
this is happening alongside all these other things that are happening in the MCU, and it just makes sense in your head.
You just sparked a great idea for a movie like this.
Okay,
where it's not tied to anything happening in the MCU. So Gambit movie, pick whatever hero you want. Actually, I think it'd be better off if we didn't get a mutant, just got a regular person. Like, let's say Luke Cage is all of a sudden in a horror movie, basically, something like that, where it's like or maybe Luke Cage isn't a good example, but a character like that's more normal, where it's like all of a sudden they're in a town during Halloween and like a Halloween murder is going on, and they're trying to like be running away and stuff, like trying to figure it out or something like that.
Yeah,
or being chased by this murderer. See, like that would be a good thing where it's like, hey, it happens in MCU, but this is actually like a horror movie that we're going to tell.
That would be sweet.
Mm-hmm.
If they, because like Werewolf by Night was fantastic. That was an awesome special presentation, and they showed that they can do like these different genres. That was just like a classic monster like horror presentation or whatever you want to call it. But like, yeah, if they could dip into stuff like that, that would be sick.
Or I'm gonna revise what I said because now we're not gonna make it normal. The town's being attacked by Mr. Sinister, and Gambit's there, and he's the one figuring it all out.
Ooh, like a mystery,
yeah, like
thriller type thing. That
he's
would
going
be
back
cool.
to Louisiana. Mr. Sinister has taken over a town, and he's like filling them full of nightmare fuel, and he's there like figuring it all out, helping the town out, and like getting Sinister out of there, stuff like that.
See, like I'm telling you, man, you come up with a good story. You don't need to relate it to the overall MCU at large.
Eddie Feige listens to this, and he's like, "That's a great idea, Mark. I'm going to take it and get actual writers to figure this out for us, and we'll bring it to you soon."
All right, so if Channing Tatum is Gambit, who are you casting as Mr. Sinister in this scenario?
Mr. Sinister. I know in Deadpool 2, I believe Antonio Banderas was supposed to play him, I believe.
Ooh.
So I think that could almost be a good one if we're going to kind of play into that, where he's in the Deadpool universe while this is happening.
Right, yeah.
But I think
interesting.
I would go with... Did you ever watch Lost?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm blanking on his name. It was a guy that we first saw in the building that had the numbers in the bunker that they thought like if he didn't get there in time, the whole thing would explode. Remember that guy?
Is it Desmond?
Yes, him.
Desmond.
I forget the actor's name.
Yeah, I don't remember the actor's name. We'll have to look that up.
I think he if that guy just pops in my head, like that'd be an interesting. Sinister.
Okay. I would have honestly. I haven't watched Lost for so long, so I would have to go back and watch some clips to see if I could picture that in my head. Mm-hmm. Dang. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. That's a deep pick. I like that.
And that's it. Like we just get Sinister. Maybe you could bring in like another like mini villain to like be his lackey, but just keep it simple. It's Gambit, regular people, and then Sinister.
Yeah.
Like Sinister's been on the run. Like he's been found out in other towns. He's like doing some crazy experience.
That would be sweet. All right, Daddy Feige, make sure you write notes.
We should find an email with Disney and Marvel and just email.
Send them the transcript of this episode.
Hey, we got a great idea for you. We just we don't. We don't want a piece of pie. We just want to be a part of it.
We don't even want a piece of the pie. Even if they did give us credit and they did that exact same storyline, that would be pretty wild.
I think it would just be wild in that case where it's like, hey, we're not asking for like, I wouldn't even say credit, just like fly us out, have us be in the film, and just like, we don't need big parts, we're just there. So we're gonna be like Infinity Bros in that Gambit movie, they showed up.
Oh my gosh.
We
The
killed,
Infinity
we're like
Bros
the first
production.
people killed or something like that.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. All right, listeners, go ahead and send us the title for the Gambit movie with Mr. Sinister as the antagonist. We'll move on to the next bit of nerd news here, but that's the Mark one. I knew you were going to like that one. The other one is probably an Isaac and Zane thing. Are you into the Sonic movies, Mark? Do you like those movies?
They're good. They're good popcorn movies.
Okay. All right.
I liked them.
Sonic 3 just dropped a trailer that's coming out in December. They had a post-credit scene in Sonic 2 that Shadow the Hedgehog is going to be showing up in the trailer. He looks like this is classic, like if you guys know like Sonic lore, Shadow always is like the antagonist and then eventually comes to the side of Sonic and like helps him, defeat Robotnik or whatever larger villain they come up against. And that's pretty much what this looks like. Honestly, we get Jim Carrey back as Robotnik, and that's gonna make this movie. Because Jim Carrey as Robotnik, honestly, I don't know if you could have done the first two movies without him. It sounds weird to say that in a second movie, in a sequel, you needed the same villain from the first one back to make that movie work. But I don't think Sonic 2 would have worked without Jim Carrey. Either of them, honestly. Jim Carrey is so good as Robotnik in
and
those
we're at
movies.
the point in the movies where now they need to team up because
Yeah. Yep. We'll put a link to the trailer in the show notes as well. But like, basically, Sonic asks for Robotnik's help against Shadow. I'm guessing that Robotnik is going to turn that around on all of them, and they're going to need Shadow's help to take down Robotnik at the end of this one. So
it's simple. That's simple.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Simple. It's effective. That's just how it goes. But yeah, Shadow looks fantastic. Keanu Reeves is voicing Shadow with the addition of Idris Elba voicing Knuckles in Sonic 2. Dang. Like, I don't know who else you could have gotten that would have been a more perfect casting than Keanu Reeves.
And I love this. I don't know if it's how true it is or like if it's really actually related, where Keanu Reeves turns down a Star Wars project to do Sonic instead.
Dude, there have been people, you included, because you literally said this in the group chat after I had like seen it online. There have been people that speculated that they wanted him for Master Soul in the Acolyte. And granted, it would have been amazing to see Keanu Reeves as Master Soul. What's his name? The actor that played Kim Jong-jae, I think is his name.
All I know is he's a Squid King guy.
Yes, Squid Games guy. He killed it. Like, he nailed it. And I don't think it would have been much better necessarily if it were Keanu in the role, but it would have been sweet to see Keanu as a
Reeves
Jedi.
Read that and was like, no
Dude seems so chill though. Like, you always see pictures of him just like hanging out with like homeless people and like randos on the street, just like chilling and talking to them and having a drink and stuff with them.
He's a man of the people.
Man of the people. This is big news. Sonic 3 looks great to me. I'm going to be there day one with my kiddos. They love Sonic, so.
What I'm pumped about Sonic 3 is with Shadow is my second console was a Dreamcast, and I had, I think it was Sonic 2, The Adventures.
Yeah,
it was the first appearance of Shadow.
You still have it?
No, I don't. I sold, I believe my Dreamcast, because I kept everything. I sold everything.
I was gonna say you're the guy that like kept everything from your childhood, basically.
I did, and then I sold my N64 and GameCube and all stuff like a few years ago because I was like, I don't need to track this around. I'm not like that wasn't my collecting thing. And I think I sold my N64 and like a bunch of games for like $500 on eBay. It was something ridiculous. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's like vintage collector stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
Like,
people want it. Yeah.
I mean, it always was, but they're like, I feel like during COVID, there's like a resurgence of like, the collectors stuff, and actually, the prices of everything just skyrocketed.
it just made me think of this. I think the reason why it sold for that much, so I sold like everything, and I had like a bunch of boxes, random games, stuff like that, and everything matched up. But I had this GoldenEye like book that I don't know where I got it from because it didn't come with the game. Where whoever bought it like messaged me back, it's like, hey, I thought this, I didn't know what this was, but it's like I've never seen this before. So I wonder how. I never looked it up to see if like does it have value.
If that was right, if that was specifically valuable, that would have been interesting. Yeah, to price out all that stuff individually. Man, that vintage stuff is tough to find online. You almost have to have somebody who is an expert on that stuff to like, be able to like accurately see how much it's worth,
But I played the Dreamcast too much that it broke. So
dang, you wore it out.
That've been prime video game years as a young boy, being 9 to 11.
I did not own a console until I had a Wii in high school.
Oh, wow.
I played a lot of PC games, though. And I played Sonic and Sonic 2, not Adventures, not the one with Shadow, just like the OG Sonic 2 on my PC.
Yeah, I had a friend who had, what was the portable Sega game? Was that Sega? I don't remember. Anyways, whatever the portable one is. I remember playing those OG ones on that a lot.
Good times.
But yeah, I'm pumped. I probably won't see it in theaters, but I'll definitely be watching it once it gets to streaming.
Just got to get Maggie into it, and then it'll be great. Then you guys can go to movies together.
Then the movie will come out, and then I'll have to wait a month before it hits the theater in my town, or I'll have to drive an hour to go watch it.
Yeah,
Jared's listening to this. An hour? Only an hour?
Yeah, for real. I have to drive 7 hours to my next theater.
Uphill the whole way, and there's a snowstorm every time I go.
Next thing up, Mark, is House of the Dragon Season 2. We are going to give a spoiler warning here. If you have not watched it, I mean, it's been out for a month, so I feel like most people that are interested in it probably have seen it already. Mark just finished it up today, right? You just finished it up today?
We started, it's hilarious with how life works sometimes. Me and my beautiful wife, Kelly, we got into it week 2 of its release. We watched 1 and 2. We watched 2 live. And then it's like life happened. Then we watched like episode 3 like a couple weeks later. And then like literally last week we watched, I think we must have watched not the final 3, but like episodes 7, 6, and 5 all in 1 week. And then we just finished up the last one today. So it's, sometimes life doesn't make time to watch the shows.
I know. I know how it feels because there's been like 3 shows on my radar that I've been like wanting to finish, and so we could review them. And I haven't even started Umbrella Academy. Like that's one that I want to watch, but I just have no motivation, dude.
I have no hype for that show after season 3.
I know. It's so sad. So sad. That show went downhill so fast.
Okay, so we're not going into the weeds, but we're taking a detour right now. So I was listening to the Talk is Jericho podcast, and he had the actor who played Diego in that, and he talked about how season 3, and like he didn't say this directly, this is kind of how he took it, that was filmed during COVID, so like production was like 8 months, and they also threw like he didn't say this, but how I took it is they threw too much money at it, and I think that's why we get a combination of it too long to produce, too much money involved because they tried to make it as perfect as possible, and that's why we got crap.
Interesting. Like you look at Umbrella Academy versus like Stranger Things. Like Umbrella Academy and both of them started out so well, but there's so much space in between those seasons too. Whereas like Stranger Things, time was working against them because they had the child actors,
But however, what made benefit to them is they had to totally revamp the next story because the kids were getting older.
True. That's true. But I mean, like Umbrella Academy didn't have that barrier though of like having to try to get things out. I say it's a barrier, but Netflix really didn't put much urgency on it because I feel like if you were really worried about it, why wouldn't you just film all those like yearly, like back to back or whatever? I don't know. It's weird that we're getting Stranger Things where all these kids are supposedly still in high school and they're like 27 years old now.
Sure. But I mean, Tobey Maguire played Spider-Man when he was 27, and he was
true. It happens.
I would love, like, on that thought with Netflix now, I wonder how that works. Is it totally like based off when they have funding? So like, hey, we know after
I don't
this
know,
quarter we're
dude.
gonna have funding, so that's when. Or is it, hey, they wrangle all these people's schedules? This is the only time we can do it, so it has to be this far out.
Right. Well, another part of Umbrella Academy too is that like there was zero marketing. Like I did not see a single ad for
For season
Umbrella
4?
Academy season 4 for season 4 specifically. Like it was marketed hard in the first like 2, a little bit less in the 3rd season, but like I saw nothing. And then when it dropped, I forgot that it dropped because I had no idea when it was dropping. It was just like, what the heck? So yeah, I feel I just my motivation. I do want to finish it because I started it. I'm like, I guess semi completionist when it comes to TV shows and stuff. But
I think we'll eventually watch it. But Kelly and I want to do a rewatch, like start from the beginning and then just end it.
Yeah, that would probably be beneficial because those first couple of seasons are really great.
And maybe that's another thing that they play into it, where they're not going to probably. I would really highly doubt if Netflix ever goes to commercials, and they just keep the binging alive. Where maybe that's their aspect. Hey, we put enough time between this. People subscribe longer and go rewatch everything and binge it.
Well, I mean, they introduced like ad subscriptions earlier last year.
They have okay. So I guess I must be paying for the no ads, just like everything else. It seems like.
Well, yeah, I mean, like if you already were a subscriber to Netflix, you automatically got like grafted into the no ads subscription, but like you can downgrade now if you want, because like Netflix, I think the no ad now it's called no ads. Like the basic subscription is like, isn't $17.99 or something?
That's the basic now? With ads.
No, without ads.
Oh,
or yeah, that's just like the standard. But if you downgrade to having ads, it decreases it pretty significantly. I think it's less than $10 a month.
What a peasant who does that.
Not me. Couldn't be me.
Oh my gosh. That just
actually Netflix might be the only one that we have no ads on, because we have Hulu with ads.
It would just be really great if they just like channeled all these subscriptions into like different channels so I could watch stuff. And then instead of paying all these individual prices, they just made one so I could watch it in one place and also pay for no ads.
Dude, that's a genius idea. You should like try to get that idea out there and see if somebody will pick it up. You should see if one like really big company would like pick up that idea and like
put it all together. Yeah,
put it all together. Exactly.
I actually, with that joke, I actually think Verizon's trying to do that.
Yeah, that would not shock me at all.
Yeah,
right.
So we might actually get that, where you pay for Verizon Vios and you have all the apps. Just
cable coming back with a vengeance.
Yep. Streaming.
So, anyways, cable. House of the Dragon. Got off on a little side tangent there.
We went on the detour. Now we're back.
We're back.
We had to go get gas, and now we're here.
Now we're here. Official spoiler warning if you haven't seen House of the Dragon Season 2 yet.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
All right, got that over with. We have reviewed a few episodes. If you go back in our backlog, I think episodes 201 and 202 of the Infinity Bros podcast, you can hear some of our reviews of previous episodes, but it's been a hot minute. I don't think we've reviewed anything since like episode maybe like 3 or 4 or something like that. So it's been a while. So we're going to be talking about the season at large, probably basically like just basic themes throughout the season and stuff. I mean, we won't get too detailed into each episode and stuff like that. But first thing I want to ask you, Mark, is I feel like there's one pretty controversial storyline in season 2 that had people online that I noticed anyways kind of up in arms. And that was the Daemon storyline at Harrenhal. And granted, listeners that maybe are more educated in Game of Thrones lore and have read the books that this is based on, which I believe is Fire and Blood that George R.R. Martin wrote. Apparently, in the books, this storyline is very short and condensed. And they dragged it out through basically the whole season for this, where Daemon is at Harrenhal. He's being haunted by, all the visions and stuff like that. What did you think of this storyline, and did it turn you off to Daemon at all throughout the season.
Interesting, because last week we talked about, my beautiful wife and I talked about this while watching this. To me, it didn't matter. Like, I didn't read the book, so like that's not where it affected me. But like, to me, I didn't feel like it was drawn out or like plagued. But she did, so I guess she would probably be agreeing with those people. I guess to me, like after finishing it, I would say, well, I think they put that all in there because they only did 8 episodes instead of 10, and to me now, looking back at it, that was, I think, filler to fill time. Because what else were they going to do with him? They needed him to be in a certain spot long enough. He was basic that those visions became a huge plot device in the season to get him, back with Rhaenyra. So
right, and I do like how they ended that storyline. I guess with him like basically staying loyal to Rhaenyra, but I don't know, man. I feel like it was almost like a little bait and switch. Like they made you think for the whole season that he was going to go do his own thing. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, he's loyal. He's loyal now.
We pulled the rug from under you. It was a red herring the whole time.
Gotcha. You didn't think you were going to get any WandaVision in this, but here we are.
Well, we didn't get any WandaVision. Can you imagine if Wanda Maximoff showed up?
That would have been wild. Yeah, we did get a witch. I mean, does she even? I think she is a witch in the books and stuff, but they don't really make that very clear in this series.
When Kelly and I were talking about this, I attribute, like, I don't know the character, that like the lore and stuff like that, so I'm just speculating. So again, if audience hears this, tell me what's up with the truth. But I was tying her to the lady who was in Game of Thrones. That was the witch in the red. Like it was not necessarily it was parallel, or like a version of like that type of witch.
Sure, but I definitely get that. I think her name was Alice. Was it Alice? Alice Rivers. Yeah, and apparently she's a massive character in Fire and Blood, the book, as well. Okay. So I don't know necessarily if her character was downplayed in this, but it didn't make you really believe, like it made you think that she could have been just a totally normal person that kind of knew Harrenhal really well, right? Like you didn't really get the vibes that she had any magical powers necessarily. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays into the future of the character in season 3 and beyond. But I don't know. Matt Smith is great. He plays a great Daemon. Just I felt like they, like you said, it did end up being filler, especially with the ending of the season with the finale. He just
better give us in season 3 Daemon level action like they did in season 1. Because I feel like he was just like a side character at this point, where it's just like he didn't seem like his bad ass self. He just seemed like a paranoid schizo guy that had delusions of grandeur with his power. So
well, that's not unwarranted through this season. But Rhaenyra comes back. He bends the knee to Rhaenyra. Let's talk about Rhaenyra a little bit. She had a tumultuous season in which she found her consorts basically not trusting her, probably because at this point in the kingdom, a woman has not solely ruled. So they find themselves or she finds them distrusting of her lead. Basically, she has this kind of like side story with Alicent as well, who on the other side on Team Green finds herself out of favor and basically discarded.
This is the thing.
You see it coming and you're just like, okay, like I'm fine with that because you were kind of conniving the whole time and you got what's coming to you.
After the end of the season, Kelly and I were both on agreement of this. Like when, like her ending can't happen any sooner. Like I'm just like sick of her storyline. Like just get her, cut her out. Just give us a red wedding. But like we're all expecting it and wanting it with her. That's how you kill Alicent off. Is like it's a version of Red Wedding, but we're all expecting it to happen and we're all wanting it. Versus like
and everybody kills her instead of everybody else getting killed.
Yeah, exactly. Like oh my gosh, we're writing season 3 right here, Isaac. She's planning to kill everybody, but they caught wind of it and they all kill her.
Everybody all at the same time.
It's like the oh my gosh, I'm going old school on this. The scene in Airplane, the movie, where they're all like punching the person, like everyone on the plane like gets in line. It's like that, like someone's holding her. Also, like Scary Movie 2 or 1 does that too, where everyone just gives her a stab. It's Scary Movie 2 in the theater where she's talking too loud. It's basically like that scene. There you go.
Good references. That's exactly what I was picturing as well. So yeah, I agree with you. Like this whole season, is there anybody out there that really is Team Green? Like, does anybody want Team Green to win? I don't know. I don't think anybody. There's but bad on both sides, obviously, because like they're Targaryens, they're murdering people. They don't really care, you know.
True.
But like just with how Team Green has like handled themselves and you know, Alicent has this conversation with Rhaenyra, realizes that she was in the wrong, and then finally, at the very end of the season,
when everything's looking very bad for her.
She has nothing left to like give, and then she's like, "Well, you know what? Maybe I'll just go and help Rhaenyra."
You know what? I got anything else is looking bad. Maybe I can do one more effort to get.
After Aemond literally is like, "You are not needed. Like, you can leave." Basically, dude, Aemond too. That was okay. I actually kind of liked him up until he took over as like whatever King Regent or whatever they called him.
Yeah,
like when Aemond Aegon got obliterated by Aemond. That was kind of funny, actually. Great part of the series there. But then when he took over, I was like, oh man, now I hate this guy. Now I think flipped into a guy that I was just like, ooh.
I have no idea how the book goes, but it's like you got to give someone that's going to have the same veracity as Daemon has,
right?
And no one on that side would have that. So like you need some psychopath to have Daemon, because there has to be a sword fight with them.
Yeah. Well, and like you're right. Yeah, there has to be a fight between them because there's so many parallels between Aemond and Daemon, and Aemond kind of looks up to Daemon as like a, you know, not necessarily father figure, but as like a mentor, I guess. Even though, you know, they really haven't done a whole lot of interacting.
But I'm sure in his mind, he's like, hey, I'm going to do what my father and what Daemon couldn't do. That's probably his thought.
Yeah, exactly. But he takes over, and honestly, like, I'm like watching all this stuff happen on Team Green, and I'm just like, yeah, you guys all got it coming. You guys all get exactly what, you know, was coming to you with Otto being fired by Aegon. Like, that was another part that I was like, yeah, buddy, let's go.
And Kelly and I were trying, because we watch it so spread out, we were trying to remember. It's like when Otto gets, like, basically, like you said, fired, he goes back, but then there's a part where, like, don't they try to send for him or even, like, send a Raven, but he's, like, not at his place. But at the end of the last episode, he's in the cage. So it's like, and I'm like, we never got a scene where he gets captured. So it's not like we're like, it's just like,
we know nothing about that. Just shows up at the end, and we're like, oh, okay.
He was like, no, I think that's the guy who said to Daemon should be king. I'm like, no, that wasn't that guy. That was Otto. So we had to rewind it. So it's like, if you didn't really look fast enough, it was like a plagiarist or in Acolyte.
That little second clip, exactly. So, but yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. After all that's happened, like when Otto got fired by Aegon, I was like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Like, dude had it coming. But now, after we see that glimpse of him, I'm almost like, I'm kind of excited to see him come back and maybe try to make a play for more power somehow.
He's just playing the Game of Thrones.
That's playing the game. Just playing the game. Exactly. Yeah, Otto is a good player of the game. Like,
I just feel like
Aemond and Aegon are so young that they're just kind of like doing whatever they feel like doing. Otto knows how to play the game to get ahead of you know, 2 steps ahead of everybody. So that'll be fun to see.
And that's what I think was good with everything at the end. It's like, hey, just like they did with Game of Thrones, here's all the players that play. Here's where they're at. Because it's like, I was the other guy that has the limp who brought the
Larys, right.
It's like, what's his game plan? who's got Otto, because I feel like whoever has Otto and he's not dead, they're like, we're gonna usurp him or put him somewhere to like do our bidding, basically. So
and so that you mentioned Larys. So Larys at the end takes Aegon, who has been recovering, from all of his wounds, injuries. Pretty much a miracle that he's still alive
especially
in the first place.
That medical technology they have.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
When I saw that bone break on his leg, I'm like, oh my gosh, worst break. Like, if you're not a rich, like a noble person or royalty, you're gonzo with it. You have no leg.
You're gone. Yeah, if you survive getting that leg amputated, because just so that episode specifically, that was my favorite episode of the season, because get that dragon on dragon action.
You get that best episode. That's all you need, baby. Just some dragon on dragon.
Yep, good stuff. Rhaenys, who was an awesome character before, kind of, I don't know if she necessarily sacrificed herself, but she definitely knew the risks going up in battle against Aemon specifically.
Like, the way they like showed us her like going in, it's like, she's gonna die. Her character's done here.
Yeah, we as the audience definitely knew she was gonna die in this battle, and it is crazy, like, seeing the comparison from like her Meleys was her dragon, and Meleys was one of the bigger dragons, but you still compare her to Vhagar, and Vhagar's just massive, just huge. So it'll be really cool to see how the dragon combat evolves in
8-on-1
season
dragon fights that are going to happen.
Yeah, there has to be, because we've got 3 new dragon riders in Adam, Ulf, and Hugh. So there's definitely going to be some more dragon combat.
The one's daughter, right?
Yeah. And is it Bela?
I can't remember the name. I'm so bad. You know this, Isaac.
Yeah, dude. Well, and Game of Thrones is even worse than a normal series, because there's so many characters. They all have like these, old English type names and stuff. So it's not like easy to remember. It
might be 9 dragons on one, but I just feel like one of the new guys is going to turn and join.
I could definitely see that. Like, I could see Aemond like making a play of being like, "Hey, like, I'll just give you a buttload of money if you." It'll be the fool. Ulf specifically, right? Ulf is the guy who would be like, "Oh yeah, totally, let's do it." But yeah, I mean, at the end you get that. I don't remember if it's in the finale or if the episode before, but like you get that scene where Adam, Ulf, and Hugh are all in the like throne room at Dragonstone, and Jacaerys comes in, and like Ulf just like number one, he doesn't even know who Jacaerys is,
and he's not.
And then number two,
so he has no idea for decorum or any of.
Yeah, right. Dude's standard. Just like disrespecting anyone and everyone, just like totally doing his thing. He's obviously going to be the one that if one of them were to turn,
as you made me think of that scene for how jealous Jacaerys has gotten this whole. That's what they really, I feel like, poked at us this whole season. How jealous it seems like he is of what his mom's doing and how his mom kind of holds these other characters over him. Because when he picked Adam, or when she picked Adam to come with them instead of him, we got a close up his face.
Yeah, we got a close up on Jacaerys' face.
I could see him not necessarily maybe joining Aemond, but maybe being that third party betrayer to his own people.
Yeah, you see the internal struggle throughout this season
because he has a black hair. Right. His whole internal struggle is where is his place in his mom's eyes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and you see Rhaenyra's struggle throughout the season of like she is the queen. So she can't really go out to battle with her dragon, because if she dies, literally everything that they've been fighting for is useless.
Right? You have nothing to fight for anymore.
Right. So and she at the end of the season, like, towards the end, she realizes this, and she's like, "Hey, like, Jacaerys, like, you're in the same position. Like, you're the heir. Like, if you die, guess what? Like, I mean, we're gonna obviously have to find another heir. That's
it'll be one of her kids with Daemon."
Yeah, she's got the other kids. She's got
backups. But she's fine.
She's got backups. But like she's trying to get it into Jacaerys' head, like, hey, like, yes, you do, like, you are important in this, like,
Well,
war, but at the same time, you cannot die.
well,
Like,
and I
you
bet there's
are
some of
the heir.
it's her last child with what's his face?
Right. Yeah, with what's his face. Yeah, I
that guy.
don't remember his name.
Yeah,
But
that guy.
that guy.
Her
Yeah,
initial
exactly.
lover.
But okay, so rewinding, I mean, this is like from season 1, but that final scene in season 1 where Vhagar just chomps Jace, I don't remember their names. I'm bad at names too. Not Jaceres, his little brother, chomps him
Mhm.
in half. That was one of the biggest cliffhangers, I feel like, even in Game of Thrones. Like, that was, when I saw that, I was like, oh my
Well,
gosh, that
and
is
it's like,
wild.
and we accept it as an audience because like this is what happens in Game of Thrones. No one's safe.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like, I started watching Game of Thrones, I think, after the Red Wedding had aired. So
Okay.
I knew there was this big hubbub about it, but I didn't really get like what it was until I came to it. And then it's like that. Like, you watch it and you're like, oh my gosh, like, they just did that. I can't believe they did that. So that was a crazy moment that I don't think they really topped that moment, especially with the finale. We'll talk a little bit specifically about the finale here in a bit, but like, man, looking back at season 1, that was one of my favorite moments in this entire series, both seasons included. So that was, we see Jaceres obviously at the beginning of the season kind of lamenting that loss with Rhaenyra as well, and he's young, he's got to be in his teens still too,
Mhm.
right? Like, and so he's got his own ideas of what he should be doing. He flies off to not the Riverlands, he flies off to somewhere and does that truce or whatever
Yeah.
with those people that does that thing with those people.
Yeah.
And
It's like we need notes or something.
yeah, that might be
Okay,
helpful.
so coming back on season 2 though, one thing like a gripe I have with it, and I also did with Game of Thrones, is like knowing the timeline. Because there's a part where Allison makes it sound like it's only been a few weeks since the king died. Where it's just
That's
like,
true.
well, I feel like it seems like it's been like a few months, not weeks,
You're right. Yeah,
with how much we've seen go on. So I found that pretty
that's true.
interesting with
Yeah,
season.
if they
Thinking about that.
clarified that a little better, that would have been helpful. Because yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, there's a point where she does mention it's only been so long, and we're all like, oh wait, really? Like, step back, okay. But yeah, that is kind of an interesting thing, because like, I feel like time in those high fantasy things too is a little bit more ambiguous. Like, as a peasant, you don't even know how old you are, probably, right?
No, probably not.
You're just like, time just goes. Like, you just go along with what's going on. You don't really track the time necessarily. And obviously, like, the noble people, like Targaryens, they know how old they are. They've got records, they've got calendars, they've got all that stuff. But like in that era, time just is a little bit more ambiguous, I guess, like I said. So it makes sense, but it is as a viewer of the show, it is a little bit confusing. Yeah, so you mentioned we get that Bela, we get that sweet looking crazy dragon, the
Mhm.
sheep stealer, I think it's called, at the end of the season. Okay, so end of the season finale. This is what I kind of want to like wrap up our conversation here about. So we had all these storylines, and I feel like they were leading up to some kind of resolution or conclusion, and I feel like we almost got no
We did get
resolution or
no
conclusion
resolution. This
with this season ending. It was just like, wait, you're not even going to wrap up any of these storylines? Like, we're just going to push everything off to season 3?
I
It
loved
almost
it.
felt like
I
that.
loved it. I'm
You did,
yeah.
really.
Go on. I'm sorry, but I just have to say I loved how they did that. They gave us no
Interesting.
cliffhangers. The only real cliffhanger is the Otto thing to me. Where it's like, okay, that we didn't know anything going on with him,
True.
but
Yeah.
everything else, like them going, Targaryens back together. Did we get a glimpse of the the Lannister guy who teamed up to get did we get them
Yep.
sailing off?
Yeah, we got him marching with Kristen
that's right, he was
Cole.
marching.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so like everything, it's leading us up to be like, okay, season 3 seems like it's going to be action packed, full of stuff. Where it's like season 2 is very much
We have all of these
so many
storylines that are
storylines
literally
we need to
coming to a
tell.
climax, and they just stopped telling the story right before the climax of all of the storylines.
Bring me back. I mean, we haven't rated the show, but I would probably give season 2 a 4 out of 5. It just, it wasn't just like season 1 where it just felt like packed full of like good stuff.
You give it a 4 out of 5? Come on.
I give it a 4 out of 5. There were some low moments. There's only 8 episodes.
No,
like
Mark, I'm not saying your rating. Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, good.
Good.
You scared me a little bit there. Come on.
Don't fire me, Isaac. I need this job.
All right. Well, you might be suspended without pay for a while here. So.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna do a press conference.
Okay, so you're saying season 2? That's what you give it?
Season 2, 4.5 out of 6.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. I'll go, since you already go ahead and gave it, I'll go ahead and give mine. I'm giving it a 5 out of 6 because I just feel like if you compare this show to a lot of the other shows coming out right now, the production quality level of any Game of Thrones show is like so high. Like they look fantastic. Mm-hmm. They look and feel so good. The storylines, some are good, some are iffy. Maybe not even iffy. They're just not quite as interesting as others.
And I would say for me, when I rate stuff, it is heavily based on story,
right,
and emotion it provokes more so than production. Because everything can be, you can have $100,000 production and have more emotion in that writing and what you're showing me than $200 million Morbius movie. So or Borderlands, apparently.
That's fair.
Or the new Crow movie.
Borderlands or the new Crow movie.
Doesn't matter how much money you put. That's what I'm loving. What's happening right now. Doesn't matter how much money you put into it. Doesn't matter the IP it has. It's people don't want it. People don't want some of this crap. So there it is. So that's why I'm coming back to that. 4 to 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
Was more based off of the writing and what we kind of got storyline wise. Still pumped. Still want it.
Yeah.
Season 3
that's fair. I think 5 out of 6 because I'm pretty sure I rated we're delayed or something. So I'm pretty sure I rated season 1 a 5 or 5.5 out of 6. I think I would rate this a little. You know what? I think I even rated it lower because I was not a big fan of all the time jump stuff that they did in season 1. Mm-hmm. I really liked a lot of those younger actors and actresses. Like, what was her name? I forget what her name was, but the actress that played Rhaenyra
Haley
when she was like a teenager, she was really good, and I wanted to spend more time in that era.
That's why I kind of wish that could have been great if they did that all season 1. It was just the younger versions,
right? Yeah, right. Instead of the every 2 to 3 episode time jumps that they did, I don't know. It didn't feel Game of Thronesy to me either because Game of Thrones is such a story driven show that it kind of, I don't know, it threw me off a little bit. So I think I would rate this higher than season 1. So 5 out of 6 for me, just because production is fantastic when you're comparing it to other shows out there. I still think the story is great. It doesn't. House of the Dragon in general has not drawn me in quite as much as Game of Thrones. I think this season did a better job of it than season 1, though. Mm-hmm. There were a few episodes where I was like, okay, I'm ready to watch the next episode immediately, where I mean, when I started binging Game of Thrones, I think I probably binged the first 3 or 4 seasons before I got to watching it live or whatever. It was probably even more than that. Maybe it was 5 or 6. I don't remember. No, it definitely wasn't 6. I think it was 4 or 5. But anyways, man, it was like Lost. Back when I watched Lost, I could not stop watching. That the cliffhanger would happen, and I'd be like, well, I can't just sit here and I can't turn off the TV. I got to watch the next episode. I got to know what happens.
And what's wild
So
Lost is one of the first shows where a lot of people went to message boards to talk about the ending because of that same emotion you felt. So
right, that was like the birthplace. Well, I shouldn't say the birthplace. That was where like forums to discuss like TV shows really got going, I feel like. So yeah, I think this season was better, and I'm excited to see where this season 3 lands because of all the buildup. That's the downfall to this season to me. Because of that finale, this whole season ends up feeling like just a buildup to a bigger season 3, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But all in all, if I were having to rank seasons, like obviously that's going to be lower on my list than just a complete banger of a season. So it was like season 4 of The Boys, which we talked about in our most recent episode, I believe 206. I mean, it like they already announced that season 5 is coming out. It's going to be the last season, and season 4 just felt like it was just the lead up to season 5. Still not like horrible season or anything, but
it didn't like lose its steam though, where it like turned into like a season 3 of Umbrella Academy, where kind of just was like, oh, this show got bad fast.
Yeah, Umbrella Academy just went downhill real quick. Anyways, lots to look forward to. House of the Dragon season 3. Those are our ratings. Make sure you guys hit us up on social media. You can email us at infinityrospodcast@gmail.com to tell us your thoughts on House of the Dragon season 2. Anything else you want to mention before we start wrapping things up here, Mark?
Gosh, I don't know. Is there anything coming down the line for us?
Oh boy. Well, all the content that we've missed this summer that we're catching up on, I suppose, is definitely in the works. Stuff that's on the list that we're going to be reviewing eventually will be Umbrella Academy season 4. I've already mentioned to Zane, we're definitely doing a Hit Monkey season 2 episode. Zane and I, big Hit Monkey fans. Great show. Batman Caped Crusader, which is on Amazon Prime. Very cool. How many episodes did you get into that one before you stopped?
I'm on episode 4, and my initial thought is how annoyed I was when the first ad came up, because I didn't know Amazon had ads until I started watching that show.
Oh, sad day.
I was just like, I want to throw Amazon in the trash right now. That's how I feel about ads. I'm
just getting rid of Amazon.
Like, I'm already paying like an arm and a leg for Prime, and a lot of other stuff.
Do they not have a no like ad?
They do. It's
like,
$2.99 a month, and I hate it. It's just like, why? Just like, everyone needs to make money and needs more money, and then inflation happens, and then we suffer.
Sad day. Definitely a few things coming down the road. I already mentioned at the front of the show, but Robbie is still doing big things on Drip, selling Magic the Gathering cards. I think there's a new set dropping, keeping the lights on. He's doing more than keeping the lights on. I'm not going to enlighten the whole universe on his financial state, but let's just say he has been doing well for himself this year on Drip. Yeah. Dude is crushing it on the, I don't know, what do you even call those sites? Like auction sites?
Pretty much. They're live auction sites.
Yeah, live auction sites. Yeah.
It's like a combination of Twitch and like if Twitch and eBay had a baby. That's what Drip is.
All right. Yeah, that's that's a description
what it
for
is.
you. So.
I mean, eBay has a similar thing.
They do? For real? Wait.
I've talked to Robbie about it. He's like, just Drip is just more user-friendly, so...
Right. And I had heard before Robbie got on Drip, I had heard of Whatnot. Whatnot. That's basically the same type of thing where you are selling things, streaming live, basically. And we have a lot of like podcast mutuals and stuff that will do like comic book selling on Whatnot and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very cool, very interesting. I think there's definitely a lot of prospects that Robbie can get into with that. So make sure you follow our links in the show notes to check out Robbie on Drip. One last thing I want to shout out is a mutual podcast friend, Kyber Culture. They actually mentioned us on their latest episode for Robbie just crushing the game on all of his Magic the Gathering content. And I have been following these guys for a while on socials. They're a great podcast to follow, specifically for Star Wars stuff. They do a lot of great Star Wars podcast reviews and stuff like that, but they're just a good overall follow. Honestly, if I was describing the vibe of their podcast, it would be like ours. It feels like a conversational, like just bros, like ripping each other type of podcast. So definitely one that I would recommend checking out. Really cool guys. That's all we got for today, Mark.
All right. I guess that's it for today. I can go back into my cryogenic chamber, and you can unthaw me when we need me again.
All right, sounds good. Just real quick, just message me the code for your cryogenic chamber so I can make sure to do that next time we have a podcast.
It's easy. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. You know.
Oh, okay. All right, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, aren't you afraid that like Maggie will accidentally unfreeze you when you're not supposed to be unfrozen? Or
maybe we'll find out. I'm not worried.
Okay, sounds good. At least until the next episode of the Infinity Bros podcast. It's Mark Jones for you.
Glad I was here. Glad to always tickle the eardrums of the Infinity Bros universe.
I'm glad you were here too, Mark. And I'm glad you were here too, listener. Thanks for listening to the Infinity Bros podcast. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We love you 2000. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at the Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.